It was Wednesday, my dudes, and time for an old man yapping. And there's this thing that happens when you get older, okay? And what happens is you go to take a nap, and you have no idea how long it's going to be. Like, you'll go to bed at a standard, reasonable time, like midnight, and you'll wake up at 2 in the morning and go, I guess I'm not tired anymore. Or you'll go to take a nap at 4:30 in the afternoon, and you wake up 8.5 hours later, and it's 1 a.m., and you're like, the fuck did the day go? You have no idea. So in any case, I overslept dramatically. It is 2 in the morning instead of, I expected to do this like 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, but instead it's 2 o'clock in the morning because life is a miserable series of failures and fuck-ups. As usual, the show is brought to you by Deschutes Brewery. They're not a sponsor, they just have a lot to do with bringing you this wonderful content. Do a little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon, all that happy horse shit. I don't like drinking straight out of the can. There's no particular reason for that. Somewhere along the line, when I was a kid, somebody told me that drinking out of the can was trashy. I don't have a problem drinking out of a bottle, but drinking out of a can, that's not okay. So I have a glass here. Well, it's plastic. It's a plastic tumbler. Because I'm not stupid. I know that when I'm hanging around in front of a computer and I've got a glass of something to drink, there's a solid chance I'm going to knock it over. And if it falls on the floor and it shatters and there's glass everywhere, that's a lot more of a pain in the butt to clean up than just whatever was in the glass. But anyway, I also have a cup of coffee. I always have a cup of coffee. But yeah, Deschutes Brewery's Jubile Ale, it's fantastic. If you've never tried it, you should. It's great. Unless you're not a beer. You can figure out whether you want to drink a beer or not. Do it on your own. You're a fucking adult. I hope you're a fucking adult because you just said fuck. Anyway, this morning I made the thoroughly stupid mistake of watching a video by a guy half my age on why object-oriented programming is terrible. And surprise! He didn't know what he was talking about. So this particular guy, I don't remember his name. I don't want you guys like trying to dig him up or anything either. But basically this guy had gone and gotten some code to do something that he wanted to do. He said, here's the thing that I want to do. So I'm going to go get some code that does this. Oh, it's object-oriented code. That's fine. Well, I don't know what the first line of this program does. So I'm going to search for a method in the code. And, oh, well, it's derived from another method. Oh, well, that's derived. Oh, well, that's also derived. You know what? This is too much trouble. I'm just going to run it through the debugger. So he ran it through the debugger and he was single-stepping through it. And he's like, I don't know what this does. This doesn't make any sense to me. The line of code that is confusing him, 2 lines into the program, is make window params. Now, I don't know specifically what toolkit or what library this is working on, but my psychic powers tell me this This creates the application window. And when you drill all the way down through it, what you're going to find is an absolute train wreck of conditionally compiled code that lets you, the average uninformed developer, say, make window params, and your code just automatically compiles on a dozen different versions of 8 different operating systems, 4 of which don't even exist anymore. And you never have to know how or why. You never need to know how the sausage is made. Your application window is a sausage. It's got a bunch of shit baked into it, and it all depends on your operating system and the version and the environment, and whether it's a 32-bit system or a 64-bit system. Are you running on a Nextcube? Are you running on a B-Box? Things that don't even exist. Things nobody uses anymore that for some inexplicable reason were popular at universities where people write experimental code. That's what I think it does. That's what I think it probably does. And if you're confused by this and you're frustrated by this, you don't read a lot of code, do you? Because creating the application window is literally the first thing you do in pretty much every program, and doing it in one line of code is generally considered a good practice. You take all of the stuff that's involved in making that application window happen, and you push it out into another class, into another object, into something that's going to be out of your hair, so you don't have to worry about it. And this guy is losing his shit and saying object-oriented programming is awful because it's too hard for me to understand everything that's going on. The entire purpose of object-oriented programming is that you don't have to. You can concentrate on the piece of code that's in front of you, secure in the knowledge that you're not going to fuck up anything else in the program. You are not going to change a variable down here in this matrix math and suddenly your application window won't start. That's not going to cause any problems because of data hiding, because of your abstraction, your polymorphism, your inheritance, your encapsulation. All of that stuff is designed not to make the code easy to read, not to make the code faster or more efficient, but to make it easier for lots of different people to work on lots of different things without fucking one another up. That's the purpose. The purpose of object-oriented code is not to make life easier for one person, but to make life easier for a large team of people. And I keep seeing these fucking moron solo developers who have never worked on a team of people say that object-oriented stuff is worthless. No, what's worthless is you for not learning it, so you can't work with that team. You're going to get a real job working on a real project one day, and in that real job, working on that real project, you're going to do shit in ways that do not serve the team. And the team is not going to like it, and your project manager is not going to like it, and you're probably going to end up working on various bullshit that nobody else cares about. You certainly can't work on anything somebody else's code is touching. You're going to do dumb shit. Environments matter. The solo developer working by himself, okay, can work in a particular way and it's efficient and it's understandable for him. But he typically doesn't do things in a way that work well for collaborating with other people. And it makes life frustrating for them. You have to be very smart to be a solo developer. Not because solo development is hard, but because every time you run into a problem, nobody can help you. Because they don't understand what you're talking about. You basically have to tell them the entire goddamn project you built before they can go, oh, I see how all the pieces fit together. But in an object-oriented framework, you could say, I'm using this engine. I can tell people I'm using the Godot engine. They go, okay. And I go, I have some stuff in a scene. Okay, everything in that scene is isolated. It's fine. And in that scene, I have a script. Okay, that script has one object in it and is attached to one node in your scene tree, which is one node off of your game's object tree. So that one node has to do all of this stuff. And then you go, and it's listening for an event, and they go, okay, now I need to know where the event comes from. Well, it's a custom event, and then you have to define a bunch of other stuff. But by the time you get to that sort of thing, a lot of what you run into is, the way I'm handling the event doesn't work. Okay, what's your event? What parameters does your event pass? What does your derived node class script do with the event? Oh, now see, you can't do that. You have to do it this way. I don't know everything about listeners and events in Godot. When you work from a framework in an object-oriented fashion, you can show another developer a fairly small amount of your code, and they can help you figure out what's going wrong and why it's going wrong. The entire point is not to know everything, and not to have to know everything. The purpose of this is so you, the junior developer who can't do anything right yet, can go work in a little corner of the system that everybody else is working on, and you're not going to fuck up the work of a bunch of multiple six-figure salary earners because you didn't understand the coding standards. If your little piece of the project doesn't follow coding standards, somebody can come and shake their finger at you and go, you need to follow the coding standards, and you only have to do one file. If you're scattering bullshit throughout the project, that's a problem. A lot of development methodologies are not designed to help the machine. They're designed to help the people who are working on the project so the project runs more smoothly. They're designed to save time for people who aren't going to waste it. If you're going to waste your time trying to figure out how everything works, like I don't try to run Godot through the debugger. I'm not trying to go, okay, let's find out how this engine works. I'll run it through the debugger in Visual Studio. That's not how you do it. You read the documentation. If you don't have documentation, you focus in on the thing that you care about, and you worry about that. You don't worry about every other fucking thing. But yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Object-oriented programming is designed to save programmer time when you have lots of programmers working on the same project. It is not designed to make things easy to understand. Having things easy to understand is a casualty of letting multiple people work in their own little domain within the project. It makes things more complicated, not less. It makes things more work, not less. It makes things slower, not faster. But the network effects of coordinating among developers are dramatically reduced. People time is more expensive than computer time. That's why we have object-oriented programming. Because way back in the day, way back in the 60s and 70s, computer time was enormously expensive. You could have 12 people sitting around going, how do we save 10% of the computer's time? Because that was millions of dollars. Well, today, 10% of the computer's time is like, well, it used to take 12 seconds. Now it takes 10.8. Nobody fucking cares. It doesn't matter. Nobody gives a shit. What matters is the people. What matters is all of the people that are working on the project. It matters if you can eliminate an entire developer for the project because the code you would need them to write has already been written and you can just use it. That's where your make window params comes from. A series of real nerds who understood how to make a window on every platform under the sun. And they went in and said, if you're on this platform, do this. And each of those people only had to know one platform. In an object-oriented context, you can have one person with a tiny little area of expertise build something that lots of people can use. And they don't need to have that area of expertise, which means you only have to pay for one person to have it. That's the important thing. Anyway, object-oriented stuff is actually good if you're in a scenario where it's useful. If you're never going to work with anybody else, sure, write your code however you want. But, chances are very good you're writing it wrong.